A doctor has recalled his role leading the Royal Australian Air Force's evacuation of Darwin after Cyclone Tracy. Geoff Thompson will never forget the emotional trauma inflicted on the city after it was flattened by Tracy 50 years ago this Christmas.
Geoff Thompson still vividly remembers the scene that confronted him as he flew into Darwin after Cyclone Tracy.
I saw something akin to what Hiroshima looked like. There were no leaves on any trees. There were many trees that were broken down. The majority of houses that we could see on that short approach to the runway were without roofs or with walls.
The Royal Australian Air Force doctor had been on leave in New South Wales when Tracy hit. He was immediately sent back to Darwin to lead the RAF's evacuation mission. It was a scene of chaos and confusion.
It was panic, panic for a range of reasons. Panic because of their experience, and many people had lived through that night not sure that they were going to be to live. There was panic as to what we're going to do next. There was panic because people were injured, many of them, but we didn't know how many, and we also couldn't get to a lot of them at that stage because the roads were all blocked with debris.
There was no power or running water, and medical equipment was in short supply. Geoff remembers using dental floss to stitch up wounded patients.
I guess the biggest concern in the acute medicine is the actual trauma of flying debris. So, I mean, obviously priority were people that lost eyes just from the debris that flew in and burst their eye.
There were about 47,000 people living in Darwin at Christmas in 1974. Authorities ordered all but about 10,000 to evacuate. It would be the largest peacetime evacuation in Australian history.
We would plan a group of about 20 for each flight, and then we would load them in reverse form into a great big ambulance bus that the Air Force had, and then we'd take that bus out, back that up to the C-130, and then load them in the correct sense as we wanted them loaded in the plane. And then that plane would head off somewhere in Australia. It didn't always go where the people on board thought they were going, but that didn't matter too much because that could be sorted out once people were down south. And I did that non-stop for that first week, without sleep.
It was 8 days before Geoff was able to return here and see what was left of his own home. The house has since been rebuilt, but there are many things that were lost that can never be replaced.
My biggest personal loss was every photograph I'd ever taken.
50 years on, Geoff looks back with a sense of great achievement after an incredible mission that was accomplished in the most difficult circumstances. But it's also a time of trauma and loss.
For a doctor, I guess the medicine might be described by other people as horrific, but to me, it was the unbelievable emotional trauma of the whole thing. You know, people were confused. I think I said to somebody recently, we had Aussie men racing up into each other in the streets when they realised, and giving each other an enormous hug and saying, "Thank Christ you're alive."
Matt Cunningham, Sky News, Darwin.